Hey guys, it's LSuperSonicQ here, and today I want to show my recommendations in terms of clay and paints and art supplies, because in 2016 we're going to be doing a lot of tutorials, so I wanted this to be a precursor to that. So my recommendation in clay has always been Sculpey 3. And there are a couple different types of Sculpey 3s that I recommend you guys buy. So the first one is this Sculpey 3 30 color pack sampler. You get 30 of these 1 ounce blocks, and it's really great for either beginners because it gives you all the colors at your disposal, or if you really don't know what you want to make, then it's just a great way to get all the colors at once, and you can kind of just go from there. So I do really like those, but something that I think is even better are, well, this is just the wrapper, but it's these 2 ounce blocks. So, like I said, this is 1 ounce, so this is 2 ounce. And you can buy packs of these, but they are sold individually, whereas these aren't. And I do prefer the individual ones because they give you more clay in each little block. And it's great because there's a huge variety of colors, and if you know what you want to make, you can kind of buy a lot of one color if you're going to need a lot of one color, or if you need just a little bit of a color for a certain detail, you can just buy that one color instead of having to buy a whole 30 pack. So those are what I use when it comes to colored clay. Now, Sculpey also does some white clay, some, just all white clay, and that's what I use to make painted models with. And this is called Original Sculpey for whatever reason, and it's just white clay. So the couple different variety packs I buy of that is this 3.75 pound box, which gives you a kind of 3 really large chunks. This used to be a lot more reliable because for the price you were paying, you were getting a really good amount of clay and it would last you for a while. But more recently, because the prices have changed, and AC Moore does all these weird things with their sales and stuff, it's actually more efficient to buy an 8-pound block, which I haven't bought a lot of these in the past, but in the future I can see myself buying more because they're priced so that, like I said, you're getting more clay for your money. And whereas the previous one gave you 3 kind of chunks of clay, this one gives you 8 chunks of clay. It'll last you a wicked long time, and I do like having more clay at my disposal anyway, so this is another one that I would recommend. So now, that was the white clay. So I guess kind of branching off of the white clay is paint, because, I have to paint the white clay. So my recommendation for paint, or what I like to use, is this Amsterdam All Acrylic series. It's a really nice brand of paint. It spreads really well. It mixes really well. I really don't have any complaints with it. Just wide variety of colors. The only issue with it is that I only found this at kind of a hipster art store in my town. I haven't seen it available at AC Moore and stuff. So an alternative to this, if you couldn't get it anywhere, is this Liquitex stuff. It's pretty much the same, but I do feel like it doesn't mix as well and it doesn't spread as well. But it's still a good alternative. If you needed some paint, like I said, Liquitex would be the runner-up, but this Amsterdam all acrylic I prefer more. So, in terms of paint brushes now, because we have to kind of put the paint onto the clay, I don't really have any specific, like, oh, I recommend this brand because of, whatever. I just happen to have a bunch of these Dynasty paint brushes. I bought them a long time ago, and I've been using them ever since. I rarely replace my paintbrushes. And these variety packs come in a bunch of different sizes and stuff, so I bought a couple of different variety packs and stuff. You're going to want some brushes that are, the lighting is kind of bad. You want some brushes that are, thick, some brushes that are thin, and some that are in between. So one of these variety packs will do you good. Like I said, I just happen to have Dynasty. I'm not really sure how other brushes go. You can buy brushes individually. I have bought some individual brushes. This is Princeton for some reason. And the tip on it is very, very small. That was for detailing. I bought a couple of these and stuff, so I guess they work well. But like I said, pretty much you want a wide variety of brushes. Now, something that applies to both the colored clay and the white clay is clay tools. So this is something that I do think you guys should, depending on how serious you want to get with this, look into, is just buy yourself some clay tools. They're relatively inexpensive. I believe these nice metal ones were only like $10, and I actually have these plastic ones as well, because for a long time I had these plastic ones, but they're really bad over time, especially if you don't clean them very well, and sometimes you can't really clean them very well, but they break, the tips get worn down and stuff, and you're going to have to replace these quite a bit. So just do yourself a favor and buy a nice metal pack. They have all these different shapes, all different whatever. So this is what I use when I do more intricate models. Primarily, you could probably use them on the white clay. I don't really use them on the colored clay, but you could use it for either or. I also want to point out these dowels. I bought these in a pack of, whatever, 50 or whatever for like $1. And they're really good for larger models trying to stick parts together, like the limbs to the body or what have you. And toothpicks also are very, very good. I prefer toothpicks to dowels, but toothpicks would be better for like small to medium models, maybe even some on the larger side, depending on what you're trying to attach. But dowels are definitely good for more industrious models or larger models. So something else that applies to both, or that you could apply to both, however I've only used them on the white clay, is these Sculpey glazes. So here's the thing about the glazes. There are two different kinds. There's a satin glaze and a gloss glaze. So the gloss glaze, when you spread it on the clay model after you'd finished painting it, will give it like a really shiny, kind of texture to it. And the satin glaze is just kind of a protective coat that dries and you won't even know that you put it on. Now, the couple things with these is I prefer the satin glaze because it kind of, sometimes when you paint, or sometimes when I paint a clay model, the clay in the paint, or the paint on the clay can get kind of sticky once it dries, and I'm not really sure what causes that, but it does. So the satin glaze will prevent that stickiness from happening. The gloss glaze is kind of nice if you want something specifically to look metallic or shiny, but I wouldn't recommend doing it on a whole model unless you wanted the whole model shiny. The only thing with these is that they go bad really fast. I've had to replace these several times just because I've opened them, used them once, haven't gone back to them for, a few weeks, and then they're all goopy and they don't really work very well. So just be careful with that. Make sure you know you're going to use them before you buy them and stuff. But I mean, they do add nice kind of complements to the clay, but just be careful of that. And something else I want to point out too is super glue. This is Loctite brand super glue. It's the only super glue I use, and it's what I use to kind of adhese, those more larger clay figures together and stuff. Like I said, the ones that if I have to, not even just the larger ones, I guess, but just if something breaks, off of a clay figure, I'll use the glue to put it back on. Or if I kind of make something in parts and then I have to, for reasons that I don't want it to fall over in the oven, when it all comes out in parts, I'll glue all the parts together in kind of like a model kit, assemble it. So Loctite super glue is my recommendation in that. And, that works for either or clay. All this stuff can really work for either or. Just a lot of the more technical things like the glue and the glaze and the tools I use for the white clay, not so much the colored clay. And the final thing I kind of want to make note of, what not to do, is this. I do not recommend Play-Doh for any kind of stuff like this. I just get asked kind of frequently if Play-Doh is okay to use. I shy away from Play-Doh a lot because Play-Doh is not really used for sculpting, really good looking models. It's kind of more just like a kid's toy, really. So if you want to make legit sculptures and use any of these tools and paints on them, do not use Play-Doh because you'll have a really hard time kind of getting stuff to stay together, and you can't get as many details in. And Play-Doh doesn't harden or anything. Well, it does harden, but I mean. It doesn't harden to the point where, like, oh, I'm going to have this finished model that I can display and it'll look really nice for years and years and years. No, it won't do that like the Sculpey will. Sculpey, you put it in the oven, you bake it, and when it comes out, you got a finished piece. So, don't use that. And with that said, guys, I guess it does it for this video. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of make it to let you guys know what I use. Stuff you can pick up for when we do the tutorial. Sorry for the poor lighting and all this other stuff, but I don't know. Thanks for watching, and we'll have a video on next week. I'll announce some upcoming the upcoming live stream and the upcoming huge epic video, which is going to be between the 11th and the 18th. So I'll announce that in next week's video. Thanks for watching, and until next time,